Hi, my name is Amanda, and I am a master's student in a special education program. Um, Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the basics of the special education evaluation. Please understand, this is only the basics. There is so much more to learn, but this is a good place to start. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act is a federal education law that requires public schools to provide special education and related services to children with disabilities. At no cost to families, public schools determine whether special education services are necessary for a child from birth through age 21 with a disability in one of 13 categories to make progress in school. We'll talk about those pieces as we go through this. In the IEP, your students' needs have been carefully assessed. The team of educators and the parents work together to design a program of education to meet your students' needs best. The IEP may include special education instruction, related services, accommodations, and assistive technology. Your students' goals and objectives are stated clearly so that progress can be evaluated. Throughout this process, whether it's referral, evaluation, or implementation, your voice matters. So, in the referral process, the referrals can originate from a parent, a teacher, or other school personnel. Schools have a responsibility, according to Child Find, to identify and evaluate students to determine if they have a disability. Special education referrals should be written, dated, signed, and copied. This is an important step of the documentation that things are written and saved. For the eligibility determination under the IDEA, the IEP team has the flexibility to determine if your child qualifies for services. A child must have one of the 13 disabilities defined by IDEA, and the disability must adversely impact the student's academic progress. So I'll go through 13, but it's both pieces. It's, do they have one of these disabilities? And does that disability negatively impact the student's learning? So the first category of learning disabilities is a specific learning disability. This is an umbrella term that for any disability that affects a child's ability to read, write, listen, speak, reason, or do math. The second category of disabilities is the other health impairment, also an umbrella term. This limits a child's strength, energy, or alertness. The third category of disability is an autism spectrum disorder. The fourth category is an emotional disturbance. The fifth is a speech or language impairment. The sixth is a visual impairment. This could include blindness. The seventh category of disability is deafness. The eighth is a hearing impairment. The ninth is deaf blindness, the combination. The 10th category of disability is an orthopedic impairment. The 11th is an intellectual disability. The 12th is a traumatic brain injury. And the 13th is multiple disabilities. So if multiple of the disabilities I just named is present and impacting your child's learning in a negative manner, then it would be considered multiple disabilities. Once the eligibility has been determined, the next piece is really that evaluation process. But before I jump into that, I really want to talk about your procedural safeguards. Procedural safeguards are the legal protections for parents and children during the evaluation and IEP process. The school provides written procedural safeguards that outline parent participation, access to educational records, the confidentiality, informed consent, an independent educational evaluation, your stay put rights, and dispute resolution options. So the procedural safeguards outline the interaction between the parent and the school. And some of these things are initial, right? Informed consent. That's an initial thing. but it also applies throughout. So, prior written notice is a particular part of your procedural safeguards. And what it means is that before any changes are made to your child's education, the school must give you written notice in the language that you prefer, in the language that you have told the school you would like to communicate. And so, prior written notice can be throughout the process, not only at the initial stages. In terms of dispute resolution or any of those other stay put rights or your consent on any changes being made, the school needs to provide you with prior written notice. Okay, so then we jump into the evaluation process. A school district must conduct an initial evaluation to determine if your student qualifies for special education within 60 days of receiving parental consent. If you disagree with the outcome of the evaluation, you may request an independent educational evaluation. The evaluation, either one, the independent or the school district provided one. The evaluation will share a comprehensive look at your student. It will share your child's current level of performance, concerns, and assessment results. It will include teacher reports, psychological testing reports. It may include speech and language results if those are appropriate, and counseling input if appropriate. The next piece is writing the IEP. However, there are major components that are used and are part of the whole discussion as you go through your entire IEP. One important part is the free and appropriate public education without charge to parents or children. That's the word free. Special education meets the state standards and IDEA requirements in preschool, elementary school, and secondary school, so birth through age 21. Appropriate is the part of the free appropriate public education that you will spend the most time talking about with your IEP team. Appropriate means whatever is suitable, responsive, or right, given your child's specific needs, strengths, goals, and supports to help your child reach their IEP goals. So rather than taking the services and the placements available at the school and making them fit the child, it's taking your child's needs and your child's IEP goals and finding out how can we, the school, meet those needs. So making sure that it's appropriate to your child. Least restrictive environment. The special education can be provided in a continuum of locations and the number of people in those locations. So the least restrictive environment means that a child with a disability should be educated with students without disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate. See, the word appropriate. Again, your team will speak at length about appropriate. So these are the IEP components. The IEP components consider your child's strengths, parent input, assessment results, and academic and developmental areas of need. So as you look at these different areas, there will be conversation about each of these. And I have resources at the bottom linked for you so that you can find out each one of these could be its own video. Related services is one of the IEP components. Related services are transportation, developmental, corrective, and other supportive services to assist a child with a disability. These services help your child benefit from special education. Examples of these related services include speech and occupational therapy. Parent and student involvement is so important. Effective two-way communication stays focused on your child. It involves listening and it asks questions, going in both directions. Issues are stated clearly and comments are direct as parents, teachers, and your student work together. Parents and students should be confident in their roles and their rights. You are an expert on your child. Your active participation matters at every point in the IEP process. Throughout the communication that goes both ways, you should expect quarterly progress monitoring. So you should not wait for the annual review process to reach out to your teachers. You will receive quarterly progress monitoring that may include observations, classwork, tests, quizzes, and written reports. The annual review process is when your students' IEP goals are reviewed and updated. Your child's progress toward annual goals will be evaluated, and the IEP team will consider prerequisite skills and progress toward grade level standards when they write the next year's goals. These annual goals cover academic and functional skills, and they are broken down into shorter term objectives. At the bottom of this infographic, you'll see additional resources. Each of these pieces could be its own area that raises questions on the parent's part. So these are some resources down at the bottom that you should access. And then this is the link to this video. But I strongly recommend these resources at the bottom. Thank you and have a good day.